Good evening. Tonight's a little different in that we do this annually. We try to pair up an informational meeting with a regular board meeting to save the night. So for the next, the board is not really in session at this point. It's an opportunity for, I'm going to do a little overview of the proposed budget. If anybody has any questions, we have to try to answer them. Then at 7 o'clock, so we'll go back to the regular session, sign warrants and those things. So we get yellow handouts up back there. Are usually the year that they're a summary of the budget. The actual budget document itself is very much bigger, but then this is a summary of that, and I'm going to try to walk through some of that, not all of it. So if you're following along, it's fine. If not, we'll try to get the high points for you. So this is the draft proposed 2019-2020 school budget for the school district. We're following them inside the little booklet on page 2. Try to sums up the high points there. One, the proposed budget is $36,767,926 for the next year. It's total dollars over this year. It's $1,070,339, or 2.99% above this current year budget. But to give you a little context for that, I came here in 2004, so it's been 16 years. We've kept track of the local appropriations over that time, so that since 2004-05, there have only been 5 times we've increased the local taxes for the school, on 5 occasions out of 16 years. Can't hear me? No. I can speak louder. No. So it's only, in the last 16 years, we've raised taxes on the local side only 5 times. This year's local assessment is $125,000 less than it was, 14-15. I think more importantly is, if you look at the entire 16 years of local taxes, the district is taxing the 6 towns collectively just almost $1 million less than it was 16 years ago. Towns are up and down in that. Some towns have been higher, some towns have been lower. But if you look at it from back in 2004 to now, we're levying the $919,000 fewer dollars on the communities than we were. So it's a fairly responsible track record. Some of you may remember LD1 was passed with the state was trying to give more money to the schools, but the intent was for some of that to filter back down for tax relief. This board has always done that. We've directed some of it into programming. We've always directed a substantial portion of that back to relief, provide property tax relief to the communities. So it's kind of a backdrop for this. This year's current proposed budget on the local side, I told you the overall budget's up to about $1 million. The local taxes are up to $31,683, 0.22%. That's the total increase for schools in new money to the towns. We'll see how that breaks down in a minute. So the highlights here are that there are 11 articles in this, 11 appropriation articles in it. We're raising money under 11 categories. Major ones are regular education. That's where all the regular teachers are, ed techs, their salaries, their insurances, and so forth. And that's up about 2.9%. Largely because our average taxing raise for employees for this coming year is 2.77%, so a little under 2.8%, which is, I think, a fairly responsible number. So that's almost all the money that's up for salaries because of that. Special education is up almost 3%, or a little under $400,000. We continue to be, the needs of some of our kids in our communities are great. There's a lot, it continues to grow. So that budget rate is up almost every single year. But the state recognizes that. So all the new state aid that we received, over $500,000 of the money we received was targeted for special education expenses. So they recognize that the locals are paying more, so they're trying to provide more support through the funding formula. The biggie was, the big game changer for us for this year was we didn't know what our health insurance rates were going to be. Last year they were over 7% increase. This year they came in at 0. So the rates for employees, insurances have gone up and down. People change policies. We add a staff person, we have to add insurance for that person. We lose somebody, we take it away. But in terms of the basic rate, it's 0. That's huge because our health insurance premium costs in this district are around $6 million a year. So even a 1% change in that makes a dramatic difference. So if we look at page 3, at the very top, the other interesting fact is the state always historically has paid, just like Social Security where the employee pays a share and the employer pays a share. In the school world, the state used to be, they paid the employee's portion, the employee paid its portion. Several years ago, the legislature changed that, so a big chunk of the employer's share now went to the local districts. So I made a note here that a little under $630,000 of Main State retirement premiums that we have to pay in come from the taxpayers now, locally, rather than from the state. So that's been a huge shift, and that was up again this year. Debt service, we basically have debt on the middle school and Norwich Walk and some leases, and that's down by $46,000 because obviously just like your home mortgage, as you pay it down, the principal goes down, we owe less money. So the breakdown on the middle of the page, that $31,000 is a change that we're up. You can see the effect on each community. Each community's share is determined by its valuation, state values. It's not what you locally tax people for. It's what the state determines the valuation to be. So we take the total value of how much all 6 communities are valued at, and calculate a percentage based upon each town's valuation to determine what share that each town pays. In this case, Skowhegan's share has dropped because its valuation has dropped. And then in the case of the other towns, they've gone up a little bit, so they get a bigger piece of the shit. So it all adds up. The $211,000 Skowhegan is not paying is redistributed to the other communities based upon their share. So even though the overall increase is $31,000, Norwich Walk, Skowhegan's going to get a $211,000 reduction in taxes over this year. Whereas the other communities, you can see what they are. Mercer will get a $23,000 increase. Those aren't arbitrary. Those are all calculated. The board has looked at those in depth, more than they probably care to. So I tried to talk to them a lot about that, how we calculate those numbers. So they're based on your value. So if your community value has gone up, you're going to pay a bigger share. If it's gone down, you'll pay a smaller share. And that's recalculated each year. That's what the state can provide those numbers to us. The other, how the budget process works is in this book, between pages 6 and 9. I'm not going to read those, but between 6 and 9 is the actual warrant articles for each of the categories that we need to vote on. It's 18 of them altogether, 11 appropriation articles. And we will, on the 20th of May, in the gym, we'll be convening there. Registered voters can vote only. And then we will vote on all those 18 articles that you see on pages 6 through 9. That becomes the approved school budget. And on June 11th, there's a referendum. And what that referendum is that we're going to post in every town office, every polling place, the results of the meeting from the 20th. And then when you go into the booth, you don't vote all those articles again. You just vote yes or no. And what you're voting there is yes, I approve of what happened at that meeting on the 20th, the budget that was approved there, or you don't. So it's yes or no. It's simple. It isn't a revote on all the articles. So I just want to make sure we're clear about that. So when you go to the polls, there'll be two questions. There'll be that question, and then every 3 years. Some of you may remember that there was a time when there wasn't a referendum. We just went to the school gym and voted. That was it. Well, a number of years ago, the legislature changed that so to this 2-step process where you go to the gym and vote once, then you vote in the referendum again. Every 3 years, you get to say, do you want to keep that system or not? So on the ballot will be a second question. This is the 3rd year. So we say, yes, I want to keep it the same, or no, I don't. So if you do away with that, we'll go back to the old method where there will be no referendum anymore. It'll just be back to the single town district budget meeting in the gym. Every time that's come up in this district in the last several years, people will vote to keep the 2-step process. But that's up to the communities to see what they do. So that's what you will be faced with in the booth, is the two questions, one on the budget itself, one on whether you want to continue the process the same way that it is currently. Now I'm going to take you to page 10. Page 10 is the revenue sheet. This kind of breaks down where our money comes from to pay for this $36 million. But the top section is a list of balance forwards, in the towns they call it carryover, those kind of things, and miscellaneous revenues, about receipts that we get, interest income, tuition from other communities. So about $1.7 million of the budget comes from those sources. Those change each year, kind of what we have. The next one down says EPS state contribution. That's the state money. The state of Maine is going to award the district $20,753,958 in state aid. If the district raises at a minimum down below it, the local contribution, if we raise $12,894,168, we'll get the $20 million. If we don't raise the minimum amount of money, they will reduce the state aid. So it's like a quid pro quo. You raise $1, they give you more than $1. You don't raise that money, you don't get the money. So our budget, so we add up the $1.7 million at the top, add in the $20 million of state money, the minimum allocation of $12.9 million, we're still $1.3 million short of funding the $36 million. So the local taxes, you add together the $12,894,000 minimum amount and the $1,300,000 extra we need to make the balance of the budget, those two together equal the $14,240,000 you see at the bottom that we're asking people to raise. And that number is again just $31,000 more than it was this current year. So it's those three or four sources of funds make up the budget. And you can see at the very bottom, right-hand corner, it just breaks that $31,000 down into by town, how much each one has to raise, which you saw on the other page, and what percentage that is. That changes year to year depending upon what the budget is. Flip to page 11. This is where it's kind of condensed in the 11 articles. So all of the school budget really falls into those 11 categories. And those are the ones you will vote on the 20th. You'll vote on each of those lines. So regular ed, special ed, career technical education, voc ed for those of us who've been around a while. Other instruction, which is your sports, co-curricular activities, those kinds of things. Student and staff support, that's your guidance counselors, nurses, support for curriculum for programs. System administration, that's my office, superintendent's office, school board. System administration, which is the building level, the principals and the principal's offices and secretaries and what it takes to run the schools. Transportation and buses speaks for itself. Facilities maintenance, the buildings, the heat, the fuel, the insurances, custodians, maintenance people, all those. Debt service, that's the payment, that's our payments, that's your house mortgage on the schools and leases we may have. And then other expenditures is $100,000, which that's like a contingency fund. It sits there for emergencies. If we don't use it, it just comes forward to the next year, so it doesn't go anywhere else. But that's there. That number was much larger than that when I arrived. We reduced that number to a smaller amount than we used to carry. I feel pretty confident that that's adequate. The bottom half of the page tries to take all of this, for instance, all the salaries that are in all 11 articles and lump them together so you can see how much do we actually spend on salaries regardless of which article it is, and compare that with last year. So you can see that salaries of the $1,070,000 I talked about earlier increase, $785,000 of that is salary. So that's the salaries represents the wage increases, and we've added almost 2 special ed teachers, several ed techs, 3/5 times nurse. So those new salaries are in that line as well. So it's the existing staff, their negotiated raises, and the additional staff that we've added. In health insurance, you can see there's no increase, but you have this $60,000 more money. That's because we've added some new staff, so their insurance comes with that. And people change plans. People might be taking a single subscriber plan this year. They're going to maybe they take a two-person plan next year. We try to adjust for that. Those are real. I spoke to you about the Main State retirement amount. You can see there that we're now having to raise the local share of Main State retirement, $636,000. We used to raise nothing. The state paid that. That's now a local cost. And that's up by $46,000 because the rate went up. So we have no choice but to pay them. Contracted services, that's our contracted busing. We contract with Motion Busing to do some of our busing, and we have some other maintenance contracts around air handlers and boilers and all that. So those contracts are up a little bit. Tuition is unchanged. Debt service I've already spoken about. Just like everybody, energy, fuel, telephone costs, those utilities have gone up some. We reflected that there. The school lunch program is interesting because we provide free lunches and free breakfast for all kids in this district. And it self-supports. We don't raise any local money for that at all. That was not always the case. A number of years ago, we were raising Richard, you remember, we were raising $200,000 or $300,000 a year to supplement the program because it wasn't self-sufficient. We really worked hard to make that, it runs like its own little business. So we have people that were paying cooks and support people and all that. It would work, but if I buy the food, but your tax dollars are not part of it, which is very rare in public schools. Usually districts always raise money to support their lunch programs. And the contingency is listed there as well. The rest of the document just takes each of those articles and breaks them down. I'm not going to go through those. Breaks them down into a little more detail so you can see where the money goes and what it's for. Your board members have gone through this budget line by line. They have access in my office to all the information that went to create these budget lines. So if you have a question about something, you can go to one of them and say, "Yeah, I'd like to find out about what's in that line for equipment or supplies or whatever it is." They can certainly find that out easily from us. It's readily available to them. And the rest of the book also takes each one of those and gives you a description of what's contained in it, in terms of how many staff, how many teachers there are, how many custodians there are in each building. It's all meant to give you all the information you need to make an informed decision. If you go to the very last page, 31, there's a little chart there that tries to explain the local assessment again about how much each town pays, including adult ed. There's an adult education article. We contribute locally about exactly $118,000 of local money to support a $357,000 program. So each town pays a little piece of that too, but it's based on the same assessment formula. It's based on your evaluation of the communities. The bottom of this, the last page, tries to compare us with other communities, because sometimes school systems are told that they are spending way more than other districts, or paying whatever the comparison might be. This is from the Department of Education website. It compares expenses from 2017-18. So the state average per pupil cost for 17-18 last year was $12,198 per student. We, during that same period, were spending $11,862. So we are below the average, state average, in terms of what we're spending per pupil. You know, if you want to rate us in terms of all the schools, where are we? We are, out of 249 school systems, we are 145th. So it's kind of in the middle. So we certainly have the most expensive school, and we're not, I don't think we're spending extravagantly to provide a quality experience for kids. There's something else I want to show. Okay. So I guess that is really it in a nutshell. I'd be happy to try to answer a question if somebody has something about the budget. If you have a question. We encourage you to show up on the plan and support the students. School system, and again, on the 11th. Thank you. So, yeah, so the board, we can't really start meeting at 7 o'clock, because we got some open time, so we got about 10 minutes.
Justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. There's no good news and recognition again tonight. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes on April 25th, 2019. Moved by Richard, seconded by Amy. All those in favor? All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Seeing none, it is voted. Communications.
I have no letters.
Is there any school personnel who wish to speak tonight? Seeing none. Are there any visitors who wish to speak tonight?
Yes.
Can I just see by a show of hands, please? Just one at a time, please. Okay, then we'll allow you to vote, to speak, whichever one wants to go first is fine.
Dear board members and district leadership, for those who do not know me, my name is Andrew Barassa. I am a resident of Skowhegan. I stand before you tonight to thank you for your continued support of our district's children. I speak for the many people here and those that cannot be here when I say thank you for conducting open meetings and workshops. Participation in this process has been helpful as a parent. Thank you for the extensive public input that you have solicited and deliberated thoughtfully over. You have sought legal advice and monitored state and federal concerns, and because of this, we are here tonight and in spirit to show support for the board and administration, regardless of how each individual voted. You voted with your conscience, and then you upheld that vote ahead of the state decision. And now Maine is about to back you in that choice. We will continue to be here to show support for the board and the school budget, as we recognize any threat to that budget is a threat to the welfare and the wellness of our collective communities. Thank you to the MS F54 School Board for a job well done.
Thank you for letting me speak. Recent events have saddened and angered the majority of the people in our district. We feel that we were ignored and not properly represented. The fact that the chair and the superintendent reopened the issue after public outcry and a vote in 2015 is unforgettable. The fact that members of the board only joined to overturn the vote is reprehensible. The community has lost all respect and confidence in the school board and the superintendent. We see the pure lack of leadership and a constant abuse of power. It speaks volumes that our community is so strong and full of pride that it took a law to halt the efforts. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions, but at the end of the day, you no longer represent the majority of the district voters. Efforts are currently underway to declare a vote of no confidence in the board and leadership, and I speak for many of the voters of S8054 as I ask you, Dixie Ring, and you, Brett Cromer, to step down from your positions.
Okay, we're on now to, we have no committee reports. We have no committee reports, and so now we have a motion for something.
Okay. Enter this motion. I move that the vote entitled "Vote to Call and Approve the Warrants for the Budget Meeting and the Budget Validation Referendum and to authorize the notice of amounts adopted be approved in form presented to this meeting, and that a copy of said vote be included with the minutes of this meeting."
But just so we're clear about what's happening here is the school board has the authority to call meetings for budgets. So what the vote is to issue warrants to the citizens to come to the two meetings I talked about earlier, where the community will vote on what the board has determined to be the appropriate budget. So this is the call to the citizens to come to those meetings.
Second to that.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Linda Quinn. All those in favor? All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Seeing none.
So what happens now is we literally have to pass around a law of warrants and everybody has to sign, so it'll take a while.
It's your right to speak.
Yeah, Friday, they have to sign.
Yes, very important that you have to sign in exact order.